Yes, guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video. Are we the same Newcastle United as we were a week ago? The team that was hoping to do all of their business in the first few weeks of the window. Did Eddie mean the first few weeks, or did he just mean the last few weeks? Because yesterday, we officially announced the signing of Malik Chow from AC Milan. Photos, videos coming out from Newcastle United on the player doing the interviews, excited to play, and then literally the day later, reports come out today that Newcastle have now agreed a 30 million plus 10 million in add-ons with Aston Villa for the 24-year-old centre midfielder Jacob Ramsey. If you were excited to see Malik Chow join the club and within 24 hours for Newcastle, that's right, agree a fee for another player, then drop a like on this video. I think it's a really, really shrewd move from Newcastle. I think he's a very talented player. I mean, absolutely ripped us up when we played against them. Has been a little bit down on his luck of the last couple of seasons, but you just know that Eddie Howe is hopefully, should it go through, going to be the man to get his career back on track. Drop a like if you were happy to see both of those moves going through in this, as I say, in the space of just 24 hours. It's undeniable that this summer window has been taken over by the Alexander Isak saga, and it has been an important thing for us to deal with. Mixed reports. 1 minute, people are saying that Isak had said that he told us last season that he wanted to leave. Then, Ornstein was reporting that Isak only informed Eddie Howe and the club 2 weeks before the season ended that he wanted to leave. However, the narrative has continued to roll on that we've known about it for ages and should have sorted it out. But I fully believe, and look, Isak did an interview 3 months ago where he said, I have no plans on leaving, I'm happy here. And fair enough, what's on the face of it and what's behind the scenes isn't always the same. But it was clear that Newcastle had a bomb dropped on them, and that became the priority. The likes of Alanga, Chow, Ramsey, these are all players that have been on Eddie Howe's list for a while, and it's clear that that list was put to one side as we had bigger fish to fry, trying to sort out the Alexander Isak saga. If I have to be honest, I still don't know. I think if Isak was going to stay at the club, despite what he had to say yesterday or the day before, that he never wants to play for us again, even if he doesn't leave, despite whatever the hell he said, I think the chances of him staying look more and more likely by the day as the window ticks down. And bearing in mind what we've seen from Newcastle in the last 4 or 5 days, bringing Chow in like that, reports are agreeing a deal. The Chow deal literally went through as quickly as pay the money, just pay that little bit extra, get the deal over the line. And I think Newcastle looks like we are starting to adopt that. And I'm hoping we can see more come through the door in the next couple of weeks. But for me, it seems like we've basically just put Isak on the back burner. We've tried our best to get signings over the line, have struggled to do so. Wizza still continues to be one that could well happen, but with our first game of the season, as it happens against Aston Villa on Saturday, I think Newcastle making the moves for a centre-back and a centre midfielder is good news for us. As I say, Jacob Ramsey has been one linked with Newcastle for a little while now. Reports were that he showed or expressed a desire to leave Aston Villa due to his lack of game time. I would suggest that maybe after a couple of years ago when he was really flying for Villa, kind of took a little bit of a dip. Did play a Champions League game last season, but I think started less than 50% of his games. And essentially, you've got Aston Villa here who are reportedly made an £80 million loss. They had a fine from UEFA for that loss. And then they've got a Jacob Ramsey sitting over here who's not really getting the game time, has said that he is not, I think, maybe hadn't turned down, but contract talks with Villa hadn't really been going in the right direction. And reports were that Eddie Howe was interested in the player and that the feeling was mutual and that maybe he's looking for a bit of a change, maybe a chance to, as I mentioned yesterday, come in behind Tonali, Joe Linton and Bruno. It's not an easy front midfield three to break into, but arguably our depth in the midfield is pretty poor. And with the amount of games we've got coming up this season, I can see him playing a key role. And if there's any man to get a player's career back on track, it's Eddie Howe. So yes, as I mentioned, reports coming out this morning. I'm just looking down at my phone here because it's basically all come. It was flying last night, but as of this morning, it's got that little bit more. Understand Newcastle are closing in a deal for Jacob Ramsey, Aston Villa, agreement of a 40 million package. Now I have to say that does sound quite high. Initially, I thought the fee was rumoured to be closer to 25, 30 million. We've been obviously linked with El Khanous from Leicester, who I still really like. £25 million release clause. It wouldn't surprise me if Aston Villa bag. Well, I was going to say 40 million there. So the reports are it's 30 million. And if that's the fee, I think that's reasonable. That's five. As I've said, Newcastle just starting to go, you know what it is? Here's the extra 5 million. But what we've been in talks with Aston Villa all summer about 25 million. It's like, you know what it is? Here's the extra 5 plus 10. And in that plus 10, if it's Newcastle get Champions League again, Newcastle win another cup, Jacob Ramsey scores 10 goals, he plays 30 appearances, then I'll happily pay Villa more than 10. They can have the 10 million. You know, this is the thing with add-ons. People get scared about add-ons. Oh, God, we're going to have to pay an extra 10 million. Yeah, but if he achieves what we want him to achieve in that 10 million, then I've got absolutely no problem paying it. So they reckon the fee is 30 million plus the extra 10, and it would not surprise me. Now, you can let me know your thoughts on this in the comments, because as I mentioned, El Khanous is a player that I like because I think he's just that little bit more dynamic, a little bit more free-flowing, a little bit more all over the shop, which is probably the exact opposite of what Eddie Howe wants, and that's what I mean. Despite the El Khanous links, it doesn't surprise me that Newcastle have gone in for Ramsey, who I think probably fits Eddie Howe's style that little bit more. People have compared him a little bit to Joe Willock. Obviously, Joe Willock's an exciting player, but has struggled with form, struggled with injuries. In fairness, Jacob Ramsey has also struggled with form. Can Eddie Howe ignite the pair of them this season? I think he's probably got more luck with Ramsey than maybe Willock, who has struggled. But regardless, it's extra backup. It brings a new player in. It brings a bit of freshness to that midfield that we really haven't had for some time. I think it's a definite upgrade of Longstaff for that position, which I think is really positive news. But as I mentioned, I think Newcastle at this moment in time looks like we've gone. I don't know that we've said anything to Isak. I think that story will just continue to rumble on till the last day of the window. But I think it's clear to me that in the last couple of weeks, Newcastle have gone, we need to stop spending so much time on this situation. Let's go out and do what's right for the club and what's right for the upcoming season. And a centre-back and a midfielder is pretty massive. And as I mentioned, what felt like a summer that was like totally overhauled by this Isak stuff was suddenly coming out with, an Alanga, a Thau, and a Ramsey. 3 players who've been linked with for a while. 3 players that Eddie Howe like. Just spitting all over the camera there. Sorry about that. And a Ramsdale in goal. Like if you player by player do like a comparison, so I would go Alanga is, despite Murphy's fantastic season, I would go is an upgrade. Alanga is an upgrade on Ramsey. Alanga is an upgrade on Murphy. Ramsey is an upgrade on Longstaff. Thau, is an upgrade on having a Lascelles, a Kraft. There's an upgrade there. So every position, and then you could argue Ramsdale's definitely an upgrade on Vakadimos, Gillespie, and Ruddy. So fair enough. I wouldn't say. I think Alanga's probably the closest to like a world beater we've signed, but in terms of bringing players in, every player is an upgrade. You're never going to upgrade an Alexander Isak, but arguably you can certainly upgrade on Callum Wilson, and I think that will be the next one. And if we can get Wizard done, potentially as quickly as the weekend, because of how things are flying this week, that is serious upgrades all across the pitch. That fair enough, as I mentioned, maybe not any 5 out of 5 stars, but we've had that our whole time since Eddie Howe came in. I wouldn't have argued Bruno was a 5 out of 5 star when he came in. He certainly is now. God almighty, Joe Linton was definitely not a 5 out of 5 star until Eddie Howe got here. Same with Murphy, same with Dan Burn. What we've done is built our team of players who have come in and improved. And I can see vast improvement available from all of the players we've signed so far. So, is that a bit of copium there? telling myself that we're going to make these players into superstars. But I think I'd rather bring in... We needed bodies. Bringing in 5 new bodies is better than, one... yeah, that's an argument in itself. But I'm going to hold it there. Thanks for watching, guys. Thoughts and comments on Jacob Ramsey. 30 million plus 10, 40 million pounds. Drop a like if you are happy to see him join, and subscribe, because I've no doubt there will be more news, hopefully on the striker front, very soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.